entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I know you could be a ton of other places, so it means a lot that you decided to join us. We're here each and every week to provide a ton of inspiration and hope and faith and motivation each and every week to talking with brilliant community leaders and business owners right here from the Tampa community, and I am extremely honored to do so. Getting the Edge is brought to you by Edge Media Hub. For more information about Edge Media, please check us out online at edgemediahub.com. Total access starts with our annual partnerships, and we have multiple levels of partnership for each budget and different levels of business. So definitely check it out, find out more about us, and find out why we've still been around 8 years and all of the benefits that are involved in being a partner, which is being a guest on the show. And really excited. We've gotten the show now up to Spotify. We're working on getting it uploaded to all the other platforms as well. I think we have season 7 so far on Spotify, but they're all coming very soon, and short clips to all the shows. We just can't wait. We're really excited about the second half of 2021, and we have a lot to look forward to. Our second annual celebration of women is just around the corner. In fact, it may have launched right about the time this show airs, but I am so thankful for all of the people that participated in the upcoming issue of the second annual celebration of women. There's a list of women on our website on the publishing tab that includes all of the women, and I tell you, I am a happy, inspired person as it is, and as I write these stories and pour my heart and soul into to honoring these women and doing them justice, it's just been an honor. So I cannot wait to share with all of you all of the great stories and all of the other editorial and content. It's exceptional, if I do say so myself. So thank you to our Edge Platinum partners. Thank you so much to Alltrust Insurance, Visit Tampa Bay, USF Muma College of Business, and Pilot Bank. We wouldn't be here without you. Thank you so much for your support over the years. Today is an extraordinary day, and one that I've not been able to experience before. And I have the opportunity to have great guests and community leaders and our business partners on all the time. And I had kept this original show airing blank, and I hadn't decided what to do yet with the show. And I over the last couple months, so many exciting things have happened in my life, and I'd love to share, and I can't wait to share more about me and some of the personal things that I've experienced in ways that I think that they could help others, but not just yet. I actually even wrote a book. I can't believe I wrote a book. Always planned to write a book. In fact, it's been a dream to write a book. I've started several, but never thought I'd actually write and finish one in the last couple months, which I did, but not ready just yet to talk about it. So I thought the next best thing, I wasn't sure I wanted to talk just by myself. So I decided to bring on one of my absolutely favorite people. I did say one of my favorite people, but my son Zach Williams is here with me today, so it's extremely special. Welcome, Zach! Yay! And the crowd goes crazy.
I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
How crazy! It's just yeah. And you are so busy. You have 2 children, my favorite little people, and you are, you're a dad and a father, and you work constantly. So the fact that you had the day off and
it was perfect,
and you were able to be here, it was great. So, well, first let me say, and I won't get too mushy, although with the shop it's going to be mushy for like the entire time. But I'm obviously very proud of you and the man that you have become, and it's fun to watch. And I'm so glad you. I was talking on one of the other shows recently that. Life is so busy and football practice and just, when you reflect back on like times when you and your sister were young, but
seems like it wasn't that long ago, but it was like 20-some years ago.
I wouldn't go back like for anything, right? But like, it's wonderful to be able to cherish those moments, you know, and wow, but I can't believe
Now it's my turn.
you're gonna, yes, right, and but yeah, I can't believe you're gonna be 31 this year. So, and the crazy part, and a reason why I feel like this is even more maybe special to me is, and I've kind of mentioned to you, so one of the women that I was able to feature in this upcoming issue is Kathy Fountain. And Kathy Fountain is a phenomenal woman. She is a former news anchor and talk show host, and she has her own company now, Fountain Fertility Group, and she helps couples all over help and deal with problems with infertility. But when I was 18 years old, I was pregnant with you, and I had just graduated high school in June and drove from Indianapolis here. Your father had just gone into the Air Force because as young parents, what else were we going to do? So your dad went into the Air Force, and my mom was here at the time, who's passed now. But so, you know, as an 18-year-old, I had just turned 18, you know, I get now to Tampa, and I didn't know anyone. And, you know, I'm 80 pounds heavier than I think I was, you know, a few months prior to that. And, you know, you're emotional, and, you know, my only thing I had to look forward to, but that I became to look forward to, was Kathy Fountain, who was on her talk show, which was on 12:30 to 1 o'clock, Monday through Friday. And back then we didn't have all these cable channels, you know, there wasn't anything to watch, you know, I wasn't strategizing and reading books. And, you know, at that point, I really didn't think I was going to change the world because, you know, what is an 18-year-old pregnant, you know, woman, I mean, or young girl, well, anyway. You know, and it wasn't even that Kathy interviewed business owners and, you know, or did anything in particular, or I didn't even know that I would someday have a show that I would talk on. But the idea that 30 years later, I now am friends with this woman, you know, and the fact that because I reached out to tell her how I felt and invited her to be a part of this, it has impacted her world in a crazy way, because we all go through a time too, which I've realized talking to all these women, that no matter what we accomplish in our lives, you get to a point that you don't feel as valuable, you know, and because, you know, and so I know it's meant a lot to her, and I never even thought of that aspect, that it was about me, you know, actually doing it and wanting to honor her because I wanted to do it, never thinking that it was going to mean that much to her. And, you know, so you didn't even exist yet then. And then, you know, it's just, you know, I'm just thankful, you know, is really all I can say. And yeah, I've put the work in, and I've come full circle in a sense. If you say that, I'm always still confused if you say 180, 360, if it's
I
a
hate
full
when people
circle.
say 360.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts because
Yeah.
all you did was go back to where you started.
Right? That's what I'm always, right? So,
at least
right.
that's the way I see it.
well, me too. So, okay, so we'll stick with 180. But it's just, it's too often we're too hard on ourselves.
Absolutely.
And it's been nice, I think, just even the last so many months as we've, you know, kind of turned this corner of me being on this pursuit a decade, and just the things that have come into place, and now 30 years later, and the opportunity to talk with these women and highlight them, like, you know.
It's special.
Yeah, it's and not just the women. I mean, it's all the issues we do and all the people. And yeah, it's extra special because I'm a woman, a business owner, and you know, many of these women have really, you know, been a cheerleader for me and a mentor. But I don't know. It's just crazy. It's hard to believe sometimes.
Absolutely. That's life.
Yeah,
in
and it's hard to believe you may be a grandmother. I've gotten used Grams. I'm Grams. At least I've gotten used to that. But
I'd say so.
when you have a child at 18, you risk the chance of becoming a grandmother very young. So that was all me. I mean,
You did that to yourself?
Yeah, I did that to myself. So yeah, I had to be 40, but I made the term Grams look way better. You know, like I put a whole new spin on.
And they've taken to it, obviously.
Oh man, yes, yeah. Yes, that's the only thing missing here today, and of course your wife Demi. But yeah, those Zach Jr. and Kylie. You know, it's interesting, and your sister and I talk a lot about things. It's a lot of things in life you don't necessarily relate to until you have your own children.
100%. That's yeah. I mean, anything in the adult world you can't really relate to as a teenager, as a kid. You know, you think you can. You see things from the outside looking in, and you have a certain perspective that to you in that moment in time is all that matters. You know everything. You see everything, you hear everything, you're retaining everything. But ultimately, it's not until you get older, you become an adult, you become a parent, that you can reflect on those teenage years, those childhood years, and you realize how ignorant you were.
It's almost embarrassing, yeah. But it's funny that everyone, the older we get, which is kind of scary, the older we get, the more we realize we don't know.
Yeah.
And that, at 18, that summer, really, you couldn't have told me anything. I had all the answers. I knew everything at 18. In fact, why didn't I? I was married and had a child practically. You were soon to come. So I thought that meant I had all the answers. And little, I was wrong.
We learned that the hard way most of the time.
It's interesting, and I won't go too deep on us here and spill too much of our stuff, but, just even so over the last so many years even, you hear, being the book that I wrote recently is really all about an experience that I had, but through writing this book I was going through a process really for self-discovery and trying to, life is so difficult. I was convinced that we had to be our own best friends. There's no way our minds are created to run against us. It just can't be. And I wanted to make it so. I've never really just accepted anything. I wanted to find out why and then make it, the way that I wanted it or thought about it. I don't know, like mindset and stuff, or even with change. How do you look at things, especially like when you look back let's just say how you looked at things when you were younger, maybe, and then how you look at them now. And
then you pretty much looked at everything through a cone almost, because you only really saw what you wanted to see.
Well, because your parents shield you.
Yeah, well, that too. But not only that, when you get to a certain age, as a teenager, it's like you're looking through a certain filter because you see the world for what you think it is already. And then it's like as you get into adulthood, especially parenthood, when you're a parent, it's one thing is it opens your eyes to the world. Just because you're always aware, you're always observing everything and everybody, because you have to be. You feel like you're the protector. You have to make sure that you're the one that makes sure nothing happens to these kids, and it just opens your eyes to the world, and it changes your perspective on absolutely everything.
Well, and that is difficult. I think when we kind of learn one way of one thing, but then as we grow and find out more, we question maybe what we've learned or what we've been taught. And I know even your sister and I have talked about that some as we talk about different things, and she's like, well, that's not like the way I see it, or I've looked at whatever it may be. And it's just interesting that, but as I gain more perspective on things, I'm able then to maybe redefine my answers, maybe that she asked, or you think about, but
what's cool too is that it's not like there's only one change that takes place.
Right.
It's maybe every few years you go through a change mentally,
hopefully.
emotionally, and you just kind of wake up a little bit more, as the days go on. And even going back 10 years to being 20, it's like it feels like when I reflect back on that, like I was a kid. Granted, I was 20 years old, technically, legally an adult, but mentally, you just don't realize how little you know until you learn more. And that's the part I Demi and I talk about it all the time, getting old, just old age and
getting old, right? Old age,
and just the idea and how terrifying it can be. But at the same time, it's like if you don't see the beauty in it, it can hurt you. It's such a beautiful thing.
Well, you have to take advantage of time.
Right. And then I picture myself as this old, gray, wise man, and it's just, not that I want to fast forward time, but I don't necessarily dread, the idea of being that guy.
Well, hopefully, too, your father and I have set some examples that make you maybe look forward to getting older. Maybe,
like I said, I don't want to rush anything.
Right. No, of course not. Time goes fast enough as it is on its own, as you have found. We, talk about that all the time. It's just crazy how fast time goes. There's so many different things I wanted to touch on, but, it's... Zach had a unique experience. Well, first off, you have a very high-stress job in what you do, and you're very fortunate. You represent and work for Hillsborough County Fire and Rescue, and work with 911 dispatch. And I can't even imagine, handling the types of calls and situations that you do. But how many years now has it been?
It'll be 5 in January.
5. Wow. Like time time goes so
crazy.
fast. But so we celebrated Christmas. We had an amazing holiday and a wonderful Christmas. And the day after Christmas, I get a call from Zach, and they'd had, as a parent, the worst thing, it's like, especially as our lives are all working out and things seem to be going great, and then you get a call from a child, and you already know that, like, there's an upset of some kind. But unfortunately, or fortunately, looking back on it now, but Zach, they lived in a 3-level apartment complex, and the neighbor underneath them decided to grill out on a wood balcony and set the apartment ablaze. Thank God Zach and his family had just left, and didn't have to even witness any part of it. I think is what I'm so grateful for. But thankfully, as we look back now, in fact, within just a few months, we had them relocated into a better situation. And thank God, I mean, the community, I'm still so thankful. I mean, we reached out, we started a GoFundMe campaign, and we raised almost $35,000, I think, for Zach and the family. And I am forever grateful for everyone that donated and participated. But let me just say, even that experience of seeing all of these people reach out,
the way that they did,
and people that didn't even know Zach, didn't know me, didn't know the family, and then even then I realized that it meant more to them to be able to do this. I mean, my mother had made homemade stockings, in fact, I think Zach's was her first one that she made 30-some years ago. But, different keepsake things that were lost. But, it's, I wanted to touch just a little bit on, just thought processes, especially like being in there at that moment that night, and me, getting there and trying to talk with Zach, and saying, everything happens for a reason. We're going to work this out. I mean, it could have been so much worse, but then now even reflecting 6 months later, and like everything that's happened and the good that comes out of it. It's like those are, perfect examples of sometimes terrible things happen in order for other doors to open or for better things to come. But so, I mean, that was, because especially now you being and working for 911 and the county, thank you so much, because the county, wow, it was amazing, that camaraderie of that unit with the county. I was blown away. Everyone that reached out to me and just offered support and donations.
Not even just my department, but surrounding departments. There were other dispatch centers that reached out
for counties and counties everywhere. Yes,
it was crazy. And especially in the world that we live in today, you turn on the news and it's also depressing.
Yeah.
Everything's negative. Everything's political. Everything is. There's always something that's going to bring down your mindset, put you in a bad space, mentally. And your perspective on the world nowadays is, it's almost inevitable that you're going to assume everybody's bad, everybody's negative, there's no good people anymore, and going through something like this, while it was absolutely tragic, obviously it's not something that anybody wants to experience, but not only has it changed, our lives in the end, but it's changed my perspective on the world and people in general, and even driving through traffic, there's times where you catch yourself saying like, oh, I hate people, because somebody cut you off. It's like, oh, I hate people, but then it's like deep down something tells you, no, I don't.
You're right.
No,
right.
I don't.
Yeah.
I might not care for that person, but no, and it's really done so much to change my perspective on just people overall. I mean, there are so many good people out there, and what sucks is that we don't see that as often as we should.
Yeah.
It's like everything you see in the news is negative, and everything is about something crazy that happened overseas or happened here, and it's just, there is so much good out there.
Yeah.
There's so much good that's waiting to be highlighted and waiting to be exposed to the world. I used to joke as a kid and say I was going to make my own news company and call it Good News.
What?
Yeah. You don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and I still think that's something it's just something that the world needs. We need some good news.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do here.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm excited to be here.
What? You never told me that.
Yeah, maybe it's something I talk to amongst friends, but yeah, it's something that we used to joke about.
Well, you joked as we were starting the show that when you sat down that you had you felt like you were in high school from doing the morning show.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, you're so cute. Zach graduated from Sickles High School in 2008, right? So, yeah, it's been, and he did get best looking, but of course, he does. He gets his mom's.
I don't let Demi
mom's
forget that
side.
either.
Was that
I
never?
still bring that up every now and then.
Yeah, well,
although I don't have my trophy anymore,
yeah.
that's gone. But
Is it? No, I have it.
the trophy?
Yeah, it's in the box.
Is it really?
Yeah, of all the storage stuff that I'm still trying to get you to take out of storage.
Wow, I do still have my best looking trophy.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah. No, you do. Yeah. I keep reminding you. Like I have this stuff. There's still like a box in storage, and yeah, I may just like get rid of it one of these days. But one of the stories that, and just I'm so happy that obviously, and obviously that it touches. There's so many things I want to say, but going back to the story before we go on, thank God the biggest thing was that the kids, you weren't home.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
again, everything works out for a reason. But Zach, the kids didn't even have to know anything or have that visualization of PTSD for the future. But so just thank God and just thankfully. It all just did line up. You were able to, and even the money, and I mean, just being able to get on your feet, and you needed a bigger place anyway, and it's just everything works out. But again, just all the people and seeing them in the community, it just melts your heart, and I'm just extremely thankful. And it just kind of goes to show you it's. One person can make a difference, right? Because one person leads, and there's, it's never, it sends waves, it creates waves, and it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
And I think that, even maybe like you're talking about in the car and like not liking the traffic and the people, at that moment, but instead of beeping the horn and cussing at them, and maybe.
And nowadays you can't do that because there's too many crazy people.
Yeah, well, I mean, but maybe even smiling. I mean, maybe you set a tone. You've perhaps made a difference, and instead of, cussing out or doing something negative, maybe just in that moment doing something positive.
I try to just take a deep breath and smile.
Kill them with kindness, right?
That's what I try to
That's
do.
always my answer. Yeah. It is sad because you mentioned about the news and stuff earlier and not wanting to watch the news and that is, and even the good news, that to me, every time I'm sitting here in the show and I'm talking to people and there is way too much negativity and it's just building and the hate and everything. And in fact, on one of the shows recently, I was with Roger German, the CEO of the Florida Aquarium, and he just said that he'd even like eliminated himself from Facebook. He wasn't on it anymore.
I'm a ghost on that
but
stuff,
of course,
yeah.
I don't. I have learned to very much shield anything that I see. I only look at what I want to see. If you look for something, you're going to find it, right? So, for me to run a business, be a single mother, and try to stay optimistic, you keep blinders on. You choose what comes in and out, and not the other way around. But there's just too much hate, and it fuels me even more to want to make a difference, and
The
even
only news
beyond.
I watch anymore is ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, even beyond this platform, I mean, it's that's part of the book that I'll talk more about soon. But we need to do something, and something has to be done soon. We're off. It's just.
I agree.
Because I think I was commending Roger German with the aquarium, just how a great leader he is. He's compassionate, he's caring, he inspires everyone that works in the aquarium to be the best of the best. And not even just professionally, personally,
Yeah.
right? And, real leaders are not concerned about you trying to take my job. In fact, I would love for you to have
They
it
wanna
someday.
make you better.
Yeah, I don't want to stay here forever.
Right.
I want to make you better. Or how can I lead you to help you be better? Because you are our future. I mean, these younger people, our team that is who is going to lead someday. So why not create better leaders than me? And help learn from my mistakes. What I think we need to watch out for are people that are more of a dictator, that are leading from a point of fear. People have done that, and you've got, there's a lot of history stories about all of that. But I think we've seen just by the goodness that has come out of our world and humanity, that you don't have to be that way. I mean, it's okay to be a good person. It's okay to show some vulnerability. It's okay to be nice. It's okay to, to maybe be afraid of something you don't know, but instead of being afraid and acting out and hate, fear of the unknown, ask questions, find out more, and don't rely on, that your sister sometimes will say something and she'll say, I read something or I heard something. And I'm like, did you see that on multiple sources or just one? I mean, let's not discuss like what's going on unless it's reported on multiple sources somewhere. And, it's because there's so much out there and biased
Especially
information.
nowadays, anybody can go on the internet and put together their own news article and
like
a fake news thing, and then before you know it, people think some celebrity passed away or something. I mean, people do that all the time,
Well, so you do have a high stress level job, and how do you? And by the way, if you ever notice you're on camera alone, that's your solo camera, just in case you ever want to look at it. You can kind of tell sometimes if you're trying to drive a point home. I didn't school him before the show started. I just sat him down.
No, you said
so
go.
yeah, and we just started talking. It's Mom, so I could just I won't hold your hand and
That's
you're on
fair.
30, but anyway, you always be my baby. How do you deal with it? How do you handle some of the stressful situations? And you are a very compassionate person. You're, somewhat empathic too with people and caring. That has got to be difficult, in that situation.
Initially, yeah. And I mean, you still come to points where certain calls can be a struggle, certain incidents can be a struggle, but ultimately you're there for one reason, and it's because you're passionate about helping people, and all you want to do is make sure that whoever's on the other end of that phone, you're soothing them, you're calming them, you're making sure that they know it's going to be okay, we got help on the way to you. Initially, it was extremely intimidating. I mean, I remember the first day that I walked into the dispatch center and, the phone's ringing and the radio's going, and I was terrified, but at the same time, I was fascinated, because it was like, and then mentally, I didn't even know what I was experiencing, because it was like, I'm scared, but at the same time, I'm excited.
It's weird how they're connected.
Yeah, and even for the first couple of months going through training, and training is a long process, obviously.
I can imagine.
You got to cross your T's and dot your I's before you can get on the floor and actually go. But it was scary. But then I got to a point where I think I was trying to convince myself I was okay. Mm-hmm. And you would ask me about work, and I'd say, I used to be so nervous, but now I'm not. Which I was lying. I was trying to convince myself.
Yeah.
And then finally, probably after maybe a year, I finally calmed down. But, dispatching is a lot like riding a motorcycle. They say that if you ever become comfortable and content on your motorcycle is the day that you're going to get yourself hurt. Even folks that have been riding bikes for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, they say you should always be terrified of the bike. Always respect it, because the minute that you're too comfortable is the minute something's going to happen. And in dispatch, you can apply that same, the same message, because it's like you're always learning something. I mean, like I mentioned, it'll be 5 years in January, and there are still so many things that I pick up on a daily basis that, there are certain calls that maybe you don't deal with too often.
Until you have an experience, right?
Well, right, and then there's even just certain things, certain protocols and things like that you have to do within the center. It's, you're learning things every day, and in the environment that we're in, it's not a hand-holding environment. I mean, you can't, when we're crazy busy, there's no time to stop and think, and, you're going,
right.
So it's interesting. But what keeps me going is just helping folks. Being that person on the other end of the line, you can sense it as soon as you pick up the phone, what kind of call it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Now granted, some folks react more than others for less intense calls, less severe calls. But then there are the ones that as soon as you pick up the phone, this is bad. You can just tell. You can hear the people screaming, crying in the background, yelling at you, hurry up, and just, it's bad. But then you have the ones that are just so rewarding. You have those calls that by the time you get off the phone and you hear our paramedics walking into the building, you can just hear it in their voice that they're so thankful. And
well, knowing that you had something to do with.
Yeah, and you'd mentioned Grandma earlier, and that's definitely one thing for me is when I get the little old ladies on the phone who I can tell are home by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They've got nobody there with them. And you can sense the panic in their voices at the beginning of the phone call, and to be the reason why at the end of the phone call, they're calm, they're thankful, they're God bless you, it's just, there's not many things outside of parenthood more rewarding than that.
Yeah, you're about to make me cry. I think I'm the one supposed to do the crying part, on here, or make others cry,
it's but then at the same time, it's like, one thing that people learn is it's not for everybody. Not everybody can walk in there and do that. It takes a special kind of person, and you have to be there because you're committed to it, not because you want to collect a paycheck. I mean, obviously everybody needs the paycheck, you got to live, but if you're not there because ultimately you're passionate about being there and you want to be there, then it will eat you alive. And I've seen that happen.
And I know we've talked about sometimes, especially earlier on, like just some of the like calls that you would get that weren't that easy to just stop thinking about, that like, and that's tough, especially, when, like you mentioned, like one of the older women or like one that might be same age as.
Kids get me too, obviously.
Yeah.
Those are the rough,
Yeah,
little old women and kids.
Crying. Thanks.
But like I said, I mean, there are moments where it's scared. There's moments where you're terrified. There's moments where, you're worried about the person on the other end of the phone. But at the same time, I've never been in a position ever, career-wise, where I left every day knowing I made a difference. And I pray about it every day when I leave. And it's just like, I'm so thankful. I never thought that I would be that guy to be like, thank you.
And maybe even like a little prayer, like, to the people, like, that.
Absolutely.
That are, the calls, like, wow. All right, nobody's made me cry on the show yet. Like, okay, I'm in a makeup song. The downfall's wearing makeup too. Wow. No, I'm I said I was proud before the show started, but, it is great to see, I'd like to think I had something to do with that. Like,
I'd like to think so too.
Just the compassionate part, the empathy too. It's, not everybody is made for that, but I do believe certain people are put into this world, to be more focused on humanity as a whole. It's, we have to care. It bothers me so much that other people don't.
Well, it's definitely changed my perspective on people too. It's just one of those things that some of the calls, some of the things that you deal with are things that you only saw in movies before that. So it's like you didn't realize things like this happen so close to home, and then when you're there for so long, you didn't realize they happen as often as they do. And it's man, like this is real life. And then it becomes your norm, and it sort of desensitizes you to certain things. Like certain things that other folks would be more sensitive to, and I've only seen that just because of conversations with Demi. We've talked about certain things, and I may react different ways now than I would have 5 years ago to certain things. I may be,
That's with age,
less,
though, too.
Yeah, and I might not get as emotionally invested in certain things just because it's like I've become so accustomed to having this wall up, because for 12 hours a day, I have this wall up. You can't, the minute that you have one of these phone calls, and like I said, there are certain ones that affect me, like the little old women, and the kids, they affect you. But the minute you really, really let that call sink its teeth into you, you're done. You can't sit there and dwell on it.
Because then it would hinder you
for the next call.
Right, and you got to be on top of your game for that.
They're going to need you just as bad as the last person did. And to us, one of the very first things that our lead trainer told me when I first started in the academy, and it just inspired me, was that you're going to take a certain amount of calls a day. And to you, each call is just you doing your job. But the average person calls 911 once or twice in their life. So the people on the other end of the line, this could be the worst day of their life. To you, it's another call and you just took 20. But to them, this could be some life-changing event, So it's like you have to take every call with that in the back of your head. Like, I need to be the voice of calm for these people,
I don't even know that I've ever called 911. I'm trying to think if I have or not.
That's what
actually, I think I did one night when I saw an accident when I was writing up a contract on Bayshore Boulevard and somebody hit the bridge coming around. My goodness, that was, oh, wow, I don't even know. That was
yeah, but not everybody has, and that's something that, not everybody thinks about either. It's like, and then the thing is, a lot of folks have this idea in their head. Yeah, that, absolutely. If you haven't, that's a good thing.
Right.
People have this idea in their heads, too, that because of, TV shows and movies, you can call 911 and say, hey, I need an ambulance now. But it doesn't work that way, So it's like you start asking folks questions, you go through these processes, and some people get frustrated. But at the end of the day, they understand you're there to help them most of the time.
Well, right, and you have to ask the questions,
Absolutely.
Right, in order to know. I imagine that changed a lot, too, with COVID and all of the different precautions.
And there's no better feeling than being on the phone with somebody that needs help, and then hearing your people come through the door. Fire department. It's because you feel like you did something. You helped.
Yeah.
You made a difference. Like, I called this person, I talked to him, and his voice got these people here. It's just, because they connect all that. They associate you with them, and a lot of people, they'll be on the phone, and they'll say, okay, well, I'll see you in a minute. As if I'm hanging up the phone, and I'm jumping into the engine, and I'm going to, so it's, but yeah, it's...
but you stay on the phone, right, until they come? Typically, you try to.
Most of the time, depending on the severity of the call, just because, we're Hillsborough, so we get a ton of, our call volume is up there, so, depending on the severity of it, if
so
you've
if
got
you don't necessarily, you may not need to necessarily keep them on.
Right. If you've got an influx of other calls and you're being bombarded by 911s, you can't necessarily stay on the phone with somebody who scraped their knee or, you know, stuff like that. But you do try to.
I hadn't thought about that from the perspective that, most people only, they don't, it's not normal to call 911 for most people, right? So they have the idea if they are calling, it is probably, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah, that's like I said, that put things into perspective for me, and that was my introduction to the academy. So it was like, let's do this, yeah. And then we started listening to calls, and I was terrified, and I was like, I don't know.
Well, it's hard, I think, anytime you get up and, your calls are recorded and monitored.
Yeah,
there's people listening. Obviously, too, and it's life or death situations, or can be. But anytime I think we have to be on, and it's just like even sitting in front of cameras and talking, and I think I'd love to say that I didn't get nervous after. The very first show that I ever did was at iHeartRadio, and I've probably shared this story, but iHeartRadio and Joey Redner was my first guest, Cigar City Brewing, and oh my God, I was terrified. And you could practice as much. There were no cameras. It was just headphones on my head, and it was for an hour. And I remember Aaron Jacobson, the producer, kind of talking and going over, and I literally thought I was going to throw up. And Joey and I said it too. I've never been one to I just say how I feel. And Joey's like, please just get the trash can and do it that way. Because you are in this tight studio.
Yeah.
But I didn't throw up, and I made it. And, once you...
And now look.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Thankfully, I don't get nervous now coming into the shows that I enjoy it. But I do hope, and just getting out and talking to larger groups of people at one time and speaking, and that terrifies me, but I will do it because I do not like to be confined by fear, or confined, either, and it is, I think as you grow and do things and become older, and as you start deciding that you don't want to be terrified, that you start tackling fears.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, this adrenaline that kicks in I don't know, it's pretty awesome. Roller coaster-ish, And then after that, you're hooked. If I realize there's an opportunity to do something, and I say no, and then I think about why, and then I think, okay, I've got to do it then.
Let's do this.
But not everything in life, obviously. Dumb things more. I'm talking about other stuff. But anyway, it's interesting just how everything that's truly meant to be is on the other side of whatever terrifies you. And I will say, I don't even know sometimes how I'm here after all of these years, and just everything that I've been through to be here, and all of the uncertainty and the unknown, and believing in a dream that no one else could see, that most of the family and no one except the kids, that are just always so supportive. Because you always, you and your sister both have been. That's been, and a lot of people know this. As we build businesses, and the founders are a little loony because it's our baby. It's like birthing another child, and I've read so many documentaries of many saying the same thing. But for 10 years, you're telling your family it's coming. It's coming any day now. The big one's gonna happen, and we'll be okay, because it's not easy. And no matter how many business plans you create or life strategies, life takes its own course, and the business, and it was hard, but it's great to get to a point where others, you see things working out and doing well, and I don't have to pretend or try to help people, convince people, or anyway, you eventually stop. you know. But I will say, of all my talking and ambition and drive, you know, you and your sister both, and Jade only being 20, do have this thought process that really does not just accept, you know, what you hear. You question things and you analyze, and you know, you believe in you. And I think too often society and life, and you know, just people that we work with, people just in life in general, we're too influenced. You know.
I agree, especially with social media and that whole world these days. We didn't have that when I was a kid. Not like that. I mean, that's not something that you guys really had to worry about as much.
No, no.
There was what, MySpace or whatever back then?
Barely.
You know?
I think that was like when you were 11.
I was a kid.
Yeah. I mean, just giving you the cell phone was like the biggest thing.
Man.
Yeah.
And now to think that I have to start thinking about that for my kids. I mean, Kai already talks about it all the time. It's a...
Okay. Oh, yeah. So Kylie, it will be 9. Yeah. They actually share the same birthday, so Zach's firstborn, Kylie, who, she'll be 9 on August 23rd this
Going
year.
on 23.
Yeah. Oh, she is just so grown. I even thought about her being here today. You know, like she would have just loved kind of watching. But I also would have felt really bad, like with little man, because so then he also has Zach Jr., which let me just say,
my guy.
Yeah, this guy literally takes me back. It's like having you all over again, but much better because I'm Grams this time and not Mom. But man, you pull my heartstrings. It's just like all of them, and that's great. I think for too long too, I was so preoccupied in the business, and I think you're in this stress of survival mode, and you know, I didn't look up often enough, like. You know, I hear it all the time, people that are trying to build things. And, you know, kids are only kids once when they're little. You know, it's like you have to enjoy. Life goes so fast, and you don't want regrets. And that's how I've lived my life, is, you know, not to have regrets later. And that's why
what's been so nice about my schedule change, coming off a night shift. Because before, and I never really realized it until now, I never realized how little time I was able to spend with them until now, and I'm able to spend all this time with them. You know, it's like before I was awake when they were sleeping.
Yeah. So Zach, he did you know, unique schedule. Well, not unique, but normal for that. 12 hours on and off, and you're on 3 days and off 2, and it rotates. But you know, were new in the beginning, so you had the night schedule. Yeah,
and
so
I've gotten used to it.
11 at night to 11 in the morning, but it does take a toll on you. Like I remember Christmases and holidays. You know, you getting off at 7 in the morning, and you know, and we're waiting. You know, you have it. It's you know, you just work so hard, and the kids are amazing, you know, and
they're perfect.
You know, I hope you are learning, because, you know, we've even talked, you know, it's difficult. You're the man of the house. You've got all these responsibilities, you know, it's, and you want to be a provider, right? And it does. Knowing that you have this family to care for it's a big responsibility, and you know that alone is success. And just seeing, you know, the smile on their faces, and you know, you just being this, you know, in my mind you're already successful. You know, it's like that is the ultimate. I'm gonna make myself cry again. I'm gonna stop. I don't know that you can come on the show again. I'm not very emotional. This is not good. All right, let me. Oh really goodness, I like. I am in this moment just like in this moment, but just this last 3 or 4 months of, you know, me accomplishing what I've been set out to do, me, you know, being at a point where, you know, I am just very grateful. And I'm thankful for myself because I've worked really hard and I made stuff happen. And, you know, there does come a time where, you know, you have to toot your own horn, and we do definitely have to celebrate the small successes because, you know, it's, and success is defined by so many different things. I mean, all of us define it differently, and every day that definition could change of, you know, where our priorities are at that time. But, you know, I want everybody to dream, and I want everybody to do and go after. And that's been the thing I've always instilled in my kids. And I can't imagine maybe what I might, you know, be or have been if I had been encouraged, but maybe not. I mean, I feel like I was meant not to be, so that I could be this advocate for others. You know, and you know, but as a parent too, it's like I've also even learned talking to your sister lately. I don't want to also influence too much of your lives. I even learned that with you at school, with you attending FAU. I thought I was doing something that you wanted to do too, and then reflection back, maybe it was me pushing too much, and but lessons learned. I kind of it. So much, even with your sister now that I'm kind of in this space of mind that I'm in, she'll ask me a question and I hesitate to answer because I don't want anybody that gives you any type of answer to anything. If you ask an opinion, is only giving you an opinion. It's not fact, it's opinion. You respect that opinion, but it's given to you from their opinion based on their experience through their life. And, depending on how well you know that person, and then you respect that. But ultimately, you still make decisions, you're on your own. But too often I'm afraid that I might sway because if, you can, depending on where you are in your life, if I say something, it could potentially then be like law or word or, maybe be, it's funny even like I'll use the little people. My favorite little people as an example, little man, little Zach, he idolizes Kai, right? Kylie.
Absolutely. Yeah, he does.
Idolizes her. And so if you ask him, do you want this kind of juice? Do you want tea or do you want this? It's up to Kylie what she wants because he idolizes her. He wants to be just like her. He wants whatever she wants. And so I even joked with her, like sometimes maybe even just ask him, like maybe, just make it known to him that he might have his own interests, or just something, but same thing. Because he idolizes her so much and he, wants to be like her, it influences maybe what he would like otherwise. So same thing in life. Our parents are, the friends that we hang around with, that's, as you hear parents always say, it's the friends. You're going to end up just like those crazy friends you hang out with. Or, it's true. After a while, you start to rub off and things like, I'm sure you know that, but actually you were a pretty good kid, both you and your sister. I'm very thankful. Other than the time I found you at Steak and Shake and had you and all the guys lined up on the curb.
That was one time, and it could have been worse. So.
That was kind of fun. Actually, I'm even proud of myself then too, because as you guys were 10 years apart. So if you were 16 and driving and I had to go find you, maybe 17, and meant your daughter or Jada was 7. I was still after you. Like, even though Jade was there and I was taking care of her, I still made sure I knew where you were. And what is so interesting is the fact that Zach's best friend, one of his best friends in high school, Ben. I just realized Ben's mom is one of our Edge partners and has done my taxes for the last couple years. And I didn't even realize she was the same Tanya that I used to stay up or, that I would call at 3 o'clock in the morning when I couldn't find you. It's funny. It is a small world. But how do you, looking back even now of how you viewed things back then and
Oh my goodness.
And where you are now,
it's like a different person. I mean, at that stage of my life, I just came back from FAU, right? Or we're talking before that. Either way, teenage years, you have a certain future in mind, partying and, and we talked about the mindset changing and everybody has a different idea of success, right? So an 18-year-old's idea of success is a bunch of nice cars, a big house, all the clothes and shoes that you could ask for, And
a good-looking guy or girlfriend, depending which.
Right. So it's just crazy because it's like you have here 18-year-old Zach who had that mindset. And then it's like here, if I could just make sure that all of my bills are paid and my children's educations are paid for, I'm successful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy. That's all that I need. And it is just crazy how life takes you through these twists and turns. And the unpredictability is a part of what makes it so beautiful, I guess. It's just you don't know what's coming. It's just this adventure that we're all in together, and
you can live in fear of that unknown in a sense and worry or
taking the beauty of it.
Right. You can embrace it and You don't necessarily have to have know exactly what's going to happen. I love the Martin Luther King quote. You don't have to see the entire staircase. Just it's the first step in faith is taking that first step. And I feel like my entire life has been walking a staircase that no one else could see but me. But that is a lot of what entrepreneurs and that we deal with. That's a part of it. It's especially when you're mental and you have things going on in your mind, or a business you're creating, or a book you're writing, or whatever you're doing, nobody else is in your mind with you. They can't see that. I mean, so it's, it's just interesting. What is interesting, and it'll be fun, is just to watch you and your sister continue to grow. And, it's just life is full of so many opportunities. And especially when you have that mindset of a growth mindset and not being fixated. And it's even, I've been all about strategy, the last couple of, you have to have a strategy. Granted, I've learned it doesn't always come through, but you still have to, I'm not going to drive to New York and not at least have directions on how to get there. Yeah. But life does happen. But it's interesting just with this, as I've been writing all the women's articles and just going deep with it all, it just reminds you. I always look for triggers in people's life. As I'm interviewing someone and sit down, I'm looking for what triggered them to either want to do this or not want to do this, or what triggered them to then go here and go there. What life events happened, or what newspaper did they see, what television show did they watch. There's always triggers, of what made, and to me, identifying those has been a lot of fun, and I feel like investigative, but we all have that. So it's, of course, like as you're younger, you don't, you're getting older, but you'll never be that old, because then that makes me even older. So you're still young, but it's just interesting from a young, again, mindset perspective. When you're young, you don't have that experience to guide, to move from. So until you do, you just make decisions based off of what you know. I think too often people then regret decisions they've made. And because then they are so mean to themselves because they made these decisions, when if they would just realize, how can you fault yourself for making decisions based on information that you knew then? Yeah. You know differently now, then just make changes.
A lot of folks at a certain age too. The decisions that you make, especially as a teenager, are based off the decisions that your friends have made. If you talk about being a product of your environment and being influenced by those around you, I think at that phase of your life, you're more so influenced by those friends than you are anything else around you.
Which makes it even more critical of
absolutely.
The people that you have around you.
Which is why I'm terrified.
Exactly, as you have a thought of your own kids. As they get older,
right. And it's like, and back in the day, in the 90s, you could be a kid and be gone all day long and come home when the streetlights came on.
Well, you weren't supposed to necessarily.
Okay,
you did occasionally.
Right. But the idea is that you had that freedom.
That you can be outside.
You can be outside with your friends, riding your skateboard. You can ride your bike around the apartment. You can do these things. And it's like now, anything that's done has to be directly, severely supervised. And that's just the part of the world that's.
And then, so then you think about it. Do we just know now that all this stuff happens and that these people exist because now the media or these opportunities of communication are there? Or have we gotten that bad? That society and that's that many bad people now.
I think it's a combination of the two.
Because these people didn't just, surely these things happen, but they didn't happen back then. If you think about it, even, again, maybe they did happen. I remember even as a kid, this is, first, second grade, and the neighborhood guy was taking the kids, to the store to get, who knows, sodas or whatever. And he had one of those old, in fact, I saw one the other day. It's the car, but looks like the pickup truck, but it's not a truck. It's a car. Mm-hmm. And anyway, he was all excited about, because it was this was in the 70s, so it was probably 75, 76, 77, I don't know. But, had that been years later, nobody questioned that this guy piled all the neighborhood kids in his car and took us to the ice cream place and got, he was just the older brother guy that lived on the street, but and he didn't mess with any of us, it was just a fun time, and it was actually a memory from a summer as a kid that I'll always have. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't, you wouldn't, I wouldn't have let, I wouldn't let my kids do that these days.
No, absolutely not.
That's,
unless I'm there too. Right. And that's what's sad, is that's the mindset that has been painted in our heads, all these years of being exposed to all this negativity.
But then we take away almost, you almost take those opportunities and those experiences away from kids.
Yeah.
And that's even, we're going to run out of time, but even like with the homeschooling, and I think about Kylie being home and having, not been in school, like so many other children that have, that have gone through the pandemic with having to be homeschooled. And, it's, well, I guess we'll end it with what we have to look forward to.
Absolutely.
And there is a lot of negativity and hate, but myself and my company and my family and friends are all convinced to do our part. And
I'm excited about the future.
Trying to make that better. So, I'm on a mission. I got a lot coming. So.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Again, if you can just stay course, stay course on your paths. And if you want to do something, do it. Stop talking about it and do it, and just stay course. I think so often, I tell you what, anyone else that had gone through my shoes would have given up. I'm quite certain a long time ago. I remember even, my ex-husband, not your father, my daughter's father, but at one point even, saying, how long are you going to put you and, the kids through this? And, again, I'm going for a dream that nobody else could see but me. And sure, it looked like I was struggling. I'm sure I was. It's hard to be a single mom business owner on a mission with no savings and no security and no resources, but what does Steve Jobs say? He says, the ones crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that do. So we'll go with that because it's definitely fitting. I claim it. I enjoy being crazy.
You're definitely crazy.
I love it. Jade, his sister always says, why do you like being crazy? And then there was some DJ Khaled song on the other day, and he's like, the crazy song. I was going to start singing, but I won't do that. But and he was just talking about they're all crazy. I mean, embrace it, live it. If you're invasive, you don't want to be like everyone else anyway. But anyway, we're gonna run out of time. But thank you so much for being here. It meant the world to me, really. Other than you making me cry a couple times, but I think I felt that pretty well. It does. It means the world to me. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for your support of me and what I do, and we do have a lot to look forward to. So.
I'm excited.
Me too. Well, thank you so much for being with us today again. A special conversation with a special man. I will say my favorite man in the world. Him and his sister have a competition. So favorite male, favorite female. They're both my favorites.
I'm just a favorite in general.
Thank you so much for being here. Check out Edge Media Hub for more information. You can email us, info@edgemediahub. Subscribe to the magazine. Until next time, never stop dreaming. See you soon.